Evidence-based decision making. How can an increased amount of screen time impact a post-secondary student's mental health? So I want to start off by giving you a bit of an introduction to myself, who I am, and what my role is at the college. My name is Amanda Rizzo, and I am the program coordinator of the Achieve program at the Nova Scotia Community College Marconi campus that's located in Sydney. And in my role, I also work with two other Achieve instructors, one who focuses on employment readiness, facilitates work experience in the community, and everything that goes along with getting a job and knowing more about employment and how to become more employable. I also work with a program assistant instructor who teaches students all about living independently, how to live on your own, or even how to live independently within the home with your family. And we work very closely together. We all have that common goal to work with our students. So who are my students? So in Achieve, in order to be eligible for the program, students have to be between the ages of 18 and 21, and they also have to graduate on an individual program plan, or IPP as most people call it. So many of the students who I work with have various challenges and barriers, and what we're trying to do is help them to set goals and get them onto the path that they want to be on. We help them to access community support, different resources in the community, and also gain more experience by facilitating work experience and things like job shadows, and even other various ways that will help them to enhance their skills or even develop new skills. So my research question, starting with the initial question that I had, which was, during this global pandemic, how is the increased amount of screen time impacting students' personal health? But I had to reframe that question because it was quite challenging to find any research on the global pandemic at this time because we're still in the global pandemic. So I reframed the question to narrow things down a little bit, and I asked, how can an increased amount of screen time impact a post-secondary student's mental health? So this isn't exactly pertaining to the pandemic, it's just looking at a student's mental health and screen time in general. So as I had just mentioned, the research was challenging to find because there's not a whole lot out there on COVID-19 because we're still experiencing it. I reframed my question to get more resources and to achieve better results, and reframing actually did work. But there were still limited resources. It was still quite a challenge, and what I did find is that it stated that more research needs to be done in this particular area, which was kind of interesting to me. I didn't think that would actually be a thing, just because, this is a pretty big problem today. So now I want to get into why I am asking this question. So this year, with the COVID-19 pandemic, the 2020-2021 year, we have delivered our program through blended study. So that meant that when we first started the Achieve program in September in 2020, we were only allowed to be on campus for 1 day a week, and the rest of the week was delivered online. And students adapted quite well to this. However, my team and I felt that our students were missing out on some of those really important lessons because we had such limited face-to-face time. So, we understood why these limitations were happening, but we also wanted to make a request to have one more day on campus. We just wanted a little more time face-to-face with our students so that we would have enough time to deliver the lessons in the way that we normally would do that. And face-to-face is so important given that we are so interactive in our program. So the next step was to acquire in the evidence-based decision-making process. And at this stage, I actually learned more about the ProQuest database, and Google Scholar is something else that I also used. However, I was already somewhat familiar with that just by doing other research papers in the past. And, you know, I felt this was a very beneficial stage because the ProQuest database was something that I wasn't quite familiar with, but it will be something that I can use in the future. It's another tool for my toolbox. And I also met with the campus librarian, who also happened to be one of the instructors for this course, Evidence-Based Decision Making, and she helped me to achieve better results as well, which also led me to realize, you know, when I am looking for particular research, it's good to go to whatever resources are on campus, including the campus librarian. So that was very helpful, just to kind of come to that realization. So initially I was focusing on just educational databases, given my question was about post-secondary students. However, when I talked to Kara, the librarian, she suggested that I also look at medical databases because my question also pertained to the medical field, since it also pertains to a student's mental health. And that actually helped to give me more resources and really assisted me with my research. And the research that I conducted, I used both quantitative and qualitative research methods. And the articles that I reviewed were surveys and interviews by a younger population. I wanted to keep it at a youthful group because the students I work with are quite young, between the ages of 18 and 21. So that really assisted me just by narrowing it down to that age group. Initially, I wasn't going to use the organizational data, but, you know, I discussed this with Kara, and I looked at what resources were accessible to me, and I decided this could help my argument. So I did look at the Pulse survey, which gave me some information on how employees were feeling about returning to work on campus and when they're on campus. And this actually did support my argument because most people feel very safe being on campus when they are working there. And then after that, I appraised my information by using the CARS method, which is something that was also new to me and very useful for future use. So, you know, I went through all the steps to ensure that everything was credible and accurate, reasonable, supported, everything was referenced. I checked the backgrounds of those references, read through, made sure that when the research was looking at a certain angle, that they also included other angles as well. So, you know, I kind of learned more about digging into the research this way, and I also feel that that was something I can add to my skills, enhancing my research skills, which again, very helpful. The next step was to aggregate my information and research. So what I found, the study suggested that an increased amount of screen time does in fact have negative impacts on the psychological well-being. And in particular, it was the older adolescents who were affected. 14 to 17 were more likely to experience high rates of depression, which isn't quite the age group I was looking for. However, a lot of the students that I work with, some are kind of on that level. So I still felt that this was relevant to my argument. Further research also indicated that the importance of social connectedness can happen both online and offline. So I liked that fact too because it also made me realize, okay, so it all depends on what the students are doing online. So the fact that we're connecting with them and teaching them things, and we were, you know, just trying to get them to engage more with each other. That was actually a good thing, which made me feel better with, you know, having some time online, but I still wanted that more of that time to be on campus. I also found that the difference, I I also used the organizational data, and that suggested that 85% of NSEC employees agreed that safety measures that are being taken made them feel safe, which was a pretty high percent. And what I was trying to do here was look at that and also argue that, the benefits of being on campus are going to outweigh the risks. So next I had to apply my research. So depending on the type of screen time and also the amount of screen time, this can impact the psychological well-being of a young adult based on the research I conducted. And also, I can argue that, most people feel safe on campus, and that supported my argument as well. So my overall goal, I wanted to enhance the quality of the Achieve program for this year by increasing our time on campus and getting one more day. The research supported me, and I wanted to bring this research to my manager and make the argument so that he would allow us, my team and I and the students, to be present another day on campus for the winter semester. So then the next step was to evaluate my research. So the purpose was to advocate for more time on campus. My audience was my manager and my team. The information I needed was to show that the benefit of coming to campus will outweigh the risks and also support the safety and well-being when folks are on campus. The sources that I needed to collect was the organizational data, surveys from employees who work on campus, and I also decided to do a focus group with my students, which was probably the most important thing that I added to that. The first voice is so important. So knowing that the people that we're here for wanted to also be on campus really supported my argument. So how can that data be collected? Through interviews, questionnaires, and surveys can be conducted. So this was the final steps. So I evaluated the information. I had to get this information as soon as possible. And the resources that I had to collect were tools. So I used the Forms tools that's on the Microsoft Office applications. I also looked at the pulse survey that was conducted, which was very helpful. And in the end, I ended up getting that extra day on campus. We were all very happy, especially the students. They just loved being on campus and being able to be face-to-face in the classroom. I think we all just really needed that. So we were able to have a full semester with 2 days on campus, and then the remainder of the week was online, and it worked really well for everybody. So I guess this research assignment worked. It also helped me to enhance my skills as far as evidence-based researching goes, and it's something that I can carry on into the future. Lots of new tools in my toolbox, so I really did enjoy this course, and I felt that I learned a lot from it. On this final page of my presentation, you can see some of the references that I used in my research. Anyway, the end results were positive for me. So thank you so much for listening, and if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me. You can look at that on my contact page of my portfolio. Thanks, and have a great day.